there are people who are insecure, they don't even know it, or they don't want to acknowledge it, right? So that's the sad parts for me. Because if you don't get to a point where you say, yes, this thing is a problem for me, you will never even overcome it, and it will haunt you until you deal with it, right?
Falling 'cause you know we gon' fly. 'Cause we be on a top floor. Oh, we feeling so high.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel with your host Kinsani, and I bring you faith, education, wisdom and lifestyle content. In today's video, I have my friend Zwannda Rasiwela. Zwannda is a mining engineer by profession, and she has a YouTube channel where she discusses financial planning and investments. Guys, I will put a link down there. Welcome, friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
For the second time.
Yes, for the second time, because we did a video before together.
Yes.
On your career and
Yeah.
so in today's video, it's we're not doing any career talk, but we are talking about overcoming insecurities, and this is because we as women, we have like a lot of insecurities. So this is what we are talking about. And I thought the first thing we should start with, friend, is do you remember the first incident that made you feel insecure as a child or as an adult?
Yeah, I think once you told me that we're gonna do this video, I kind of traced back to the first time I felt insecure. I think, yes, we do get to remember those because they seem to be big, and from that moment onwards, everything changes, right?
Yeah.
So the first time, I think the whole time when I was growing up, I was pretty fine, pretty confident, and then I got to high school. And I think I started feeling insecure because of how different I looked from the other people, right? Not necessarily looking, but it was in a sense of they came from the surrounding schools, which is nice schools. And I came from the village. I have to take a 4-hour bus to go to high school. And that differentiated me a lot. And then the first day when we had to introduce ourselves in class, everybody was speaking in English. And interesting enough, guys, I just didn't know how to speak English. So I was so scared. And from there, I started asking myself, should I be here? Is this the right place? Maybe I should have went to a high school closer to home, And I was fortunate enough that on that day, at least the siren rang before I could speak. So I went home and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced.
Sure.
I never really got another chance. But from that day, I kept on, assessing myself over other students to see what other things do I not know, and living from fear, I was actually missing out on actually doing the learning, which is what I was there to do. I think that was like my first experience of having to feel insecure.
Yeah. So I think what insecurities then bring is you lack confidence, and you start comparing yourself to other people. You have this
Definitely.
thing, am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Can I speak well enough?
Yes.
Am I eloquent enough? Can I do this and this and that? And that's what I really hate, because it actually shows up in what you do. So the one
Yes.
thing we never want to speak about is actually, if you are insecure, it's going to come out in what you do, what you
Yes.
say,
Yes.
how you interact with
Yes.
people. So we don't just go around, I'm shy because I actually am shy, but it might have like a deep-rooted issue,
Yeah, normally it's like that, friend. Normally it's like that. Like, actually, sometimes you tend to avoid those things and not deal with them upfront. But it will show up in public. It will show up in places because you don't really know what the trigger is. So I guess I'm gonna ask you, like, have you ever been triggered? Like, have you ever been triggered unexpectedly, and you felt insecure?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. It happens a lot where you just get triggered. I'm just gonna give like a recent
Yes.
incident, and this is even amongst friends. They actually don't see how much impact they have.
Yeah.
I think I once told you of this guy who was when started the channel, and then he was
Yes.
looking at one other video. He's like, she's just perfect. And then you, and then he was looking at me, it's like, you don't have the face for it, you know? And I'm actually paraphrasing because that's not what he said. I think what he said was more hurtful than anything. So, yeah, I've been triggered. But the one thing for me when it comes to people triggering me is not to bruise their ego, especially if I can see that they themselves are insecure.
Yes.
So I have that. I can actually try and determine where this thing is coming from. Is it constructive criticism? Is this
Yeah.
somebody who's concerned about me? Are they the kind of people who have been praying for you to actually have identified something and brought it to light? But this is somebody whose opinion actually doesn't matter to me. So when they came and said that, I knew that if I respond in force or
Yes.
in defense, I will bruise his ego. He will not walk home comfortably. You
Yes.
know, so it's those kind of things. But yeah.
Yeah. I think with the scenario or your experience that you mentioned there, a lot of times people don't really know that they're insecure. Like you can feel it by the way someone is projecting their insecurities towards you, right? Like when someone is not happy with speaking about finance, they like, oh well, why are you speaking about finance? Have you had your first million? You know, those kind of things, and you're like, okay. You know, but you like you said, friend, like I think it's the same with me. I try not to, you know, because to respond from hurt. So I let them be, try to respond as positive as I can. And, you know, just because you can develop insecurities from things that people say to you. So I try to not, you know, I don't know, to adopt what they're saying.
Yeah.
Well, because you can take it home
Yes,
and it can
yes.
start developing some insecurities
Yeah.
from there as well. So you adopt their insecurities as well.
So this month, I've been reading Sarah Jakes' book,
Yeah.
Woman Evolve, and she speaks of how the first time the woman Eve was interacting with the serpent, it was just a drop of a thought. So it was, did God really tell you that this is the case?
Yeah.
And I think this is how people come about in bringing you insecurities. Or somebody
Yes.
will, do you really think you're pretty? And then you start to wonder, like, yo, Batum, Kanti, is this the reason why nobody offers to pay my groceries? Go Pick and Pay, you know?
Yeah.
You know that girls will get those kind of things. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I think it's that thing. It starts with somebody plants a thought, and if you entertain it, then it builds a home. And then,
True. I think unfortunately when insecurities gets to be recurring, you know, it attacks you like entirely. Like it attacks you, and then you become you have low self-esteem, you know, things like that. I think I've seen people who are pretty who think that they're not pretty. I mean, in my eyes they look
sure.
like, damn girl, you everything. And then in themselves, like maybe they dress in baggy clothes, and the issue with insecurity is that when you think about it so much, the negative thoughts tend to kill your self-esteem. So even the things which you have or the things which you are capable of doing, you tend to not do them because you think, well, maybe I'm not the things which you actually are.
Okay. So secondly, I thought we should, when we're dealing with the issue of insecurities, is the masks or the defenses that we've built
Yes.
to look like we have actually dealt with what we are insecure about. I often give this example that the one thing I thought is a mask or a defense we use is when we'd see a pretty girl, you know, the beauty and brains versus beauty and
Yes.
brains thing, where you'd be like, at least I have a degree and now she's just pretty, you know.
Yes.
But you're basically saying that, okay, Mina, I'm not pretty, but need a degree.
Yeah.
But that's a defense, but you can see the underlying issue is still there. Like you
Yeah,
are
true.
still somebody who's not confident in how you look.
It's true. If I remember, like very well, I understand the masking thing because I think we were spoken about it. For me, after knowing that, well, can't speak English very well, I really didn't deal with it. I didn't go around asking for English books or asking someone to teach me English. No, 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 no. I just knew I'm good with numbers and science. So it's either you know English or you're dumb. So it's either you know maths or you're dumb. So it's insecurities right there and there, because I was trying not to deal with me not being able to communicate in the language which was being used in high school. And it went on for a while. Me trying to think that it's okay to not know English because I can deal with numbers and I can deal with science. I'm passing better than them. So why should I have to learn English? But English is important, not for them, for me, right? I had to use it for many other things, and they were not there with their support. I had to deal with the fact that I can't speak it, and that was affecting me, right? So there is that mask we put in, and we give ourselves this, I don't know what to call them. Yeah, and you feel like it's okay, right? You feel like it's okay to be in this place, where else it's just not. There's things which you're not dealing with.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, you cover your hurt by replacing it with a certain confidence or strength that
Yes.
you have. Instead
And it's not the same.
Yes, and it's not the same because it does come back.
Yes, true.
Somehow, maybe it's your insecurity came from a childhood trauma point of view. That thing will always come back.
Yeah.
So if you don't deal with it or address the fact that, God, how did this thing actually come into being? How did I become insecure about my body? Why am I not enjoying my body? I think me for the longest time I was very insecure about my body. I think even when I started running, before I
Yes.
actually enjoyed running, I thought I was fat. And now when I look at my pictures, I'm like, what the hell?
You want
know?
the body
and
of the
then
time when
now-
you thought you were fat.
I actually don't want it back. I don't. I was too skinny. You see, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking now I should have enjoyed that time.
True,
I
true.
shouldn't have just listened to what everyone was saying, and more so ask myself, do you want this body? Do you enjoy this body? If not, work on it.
Yeah, true.
Then, because there are ways in which you can work on these kind of things. Yeah.
So I think from what you said, the unfortunate part is that it stills your present moment, right? Like in the time where you
so
could be
good.
flourishing,
So
you
good,
are
friend.
out here being doubtful, asking yourself
Yes.
questions, and you can never flourish from that place, unfortunately. I think for me, when it comes to masking, I was thinking there are people who actually call other people insecure, like that person is insecure, and it's a level of character, like you're giving them as if like that's the way they are. I feel like each one of us at a certain point in our lives, we do face
So good, friend.
insecurities,
Yeah,
and we have to
yeah.
progressively deal with them. So yes, maybe to other people it might have dominated to them in a way that is visible for you, but even people who work with their heads up, they do feel insecurities.
They do. Right,
And we
right.
progressively have to deal with it. And even that person who you call insecure, they might still be dealing with it. So I feel like the labeling, it's kind of harsh, right? If we want to be confident, and if we want to feel good about ourselves, I guess we need to be lenient as well with other people who are dealing with issues that we are stronger at.
Yes,
right?
true. So good. So
Yeah.
good, friend. Like we must afford each other the grace.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. Just because when you've jumped over the hurdle of like now believing that, oh gosh,
I'm pretty, yes.
when somebody else is dealing with it, you must say, oh, you're insecure.
Exactly.
We must just grace one another. So the last thing is, do we actually overcome feelings of insecurity or inadequacy? And if we do, how do we go about doing that?
I think it's a long process, and it's a difficult one because it has to start with accepting it, because there are people who are insecure, they don't even know it, or they don't want to acknowledge it, right? So that's the sad parts for me. Because if you don't get to a point where you say, yes, this thing is a problem for me, you will never even overcome it, and it will haunt you until you deal with it, right? So yes, we do overcome it, and that's if you start by accepting yourself. I think for me, the thing that really helped me with a lot of insecurities that comes my way is understanding that, you know, I was created by God uniquely as I am. Like, I'm not going to look like Brian. I'm not going to look like Kensani, you know. I'm going to look like Zwannda, and I need to own it. And that's my power. I am Zwannda, and that's my power. I'm not going to look like anybody else. There are things that I'm going to deal with that Kensani won't deal with, right?
True,
and when I get to face the things that I have to deal with, I face it, you know, straight head on, right? It's not as easy as I'm saying, but, you know, I do a lot of journaling, friend. So with journaling, it helps me with reflection, right? So I get to see that, okay, well, maybe you answered from a point of insecurities, and that you need to deal with it, right? And I see that a lot, and some small, some big. And actually, as you accept, you start dealing with it. Sometimes it's faster, but most of the time, if it's something that occurred when you're a child, it's probably going to take you a little while.
Yeah, you're right. I definitely agree that it's an ongoing journey.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know, what I'm insecure about today might be, and then deal with it. And then by the time I'm 30, I'd probably be insecure about something else.
Yes.
Interestingly, because you know what's interesting? You get to high school, you start go grade 8, you feel like you are absolutely nothing. You
Yeah.
get to matric, you are everything, you know everything, you are the girl, you know, and then you go to varsity, you start all over again.
Yeah.
That insecurity. So it's always about transitioning and learning and
Definitely.
evolving. And I like the fact that you mentioned God. For me, the identity or the rest for me in terms of my
Yeah.
identity has been, okay, I'm enough. You know, I'm enough because I am God's child, like you
Yes.
said. And that gives us so much rest because we get affirmed by the word of God and by how God sees us, not necessarily by how others see us. But if we are confident in the word that God has spoken,
Yeah.
it's enough.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was it, guys. We're talking about overcoming insecurities, and I hope this was a good video. The highlights are obviously being reminded that it's an ongoing journey. Everybody has some form of insecurity, and I think another highlight is just making sure that we don't respond from a place of defense, you know, to respond through grace and to see other people and understand when they are insecure that we also have gone through a similar process. Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.